Program has been furnished and paid for by Kevin 7 Financial Services, and KSEV is not responsible for its content or the products or services offered. Welcome to Your Finances with Kevin 7 here on KSEV, a show about finance and retirement planning. And now, here's your host, Kevin Quigley.
Hello and welcome to Your Finances. Kevin 7 is the name of the firm, and I am Kevin, and we are here live this Wednesday, November the 8th. Typically, it starts at 6:05. And we are ready to roll with your questions. Feel free to call us live on the air, 281-558-5738. That's 281-558-5738. That's KSEV, or the last four digits there for your convenience. And we are bullish on America, and we are bullish on the U.S. stock market. Has outperformed all other investment choices, pretty much hands down. So as you have seen, things that didn't turn out the way you like in the news lately, well, just remember, in the long run, the U.S. stock market's always going to outperform. Still the best country on earth. And we are coming up on Veterans Day. My name is Kevin7, and I have a very good veteran with us, Gary Knight.
Hello
in the
there.
Studio.
Welcome. Thank you.
Well, thank you for your service, Gary. And, well, you served in Vietnam. That's
Long time ago.
long time ago. Yeah, you aged very well.
Well, thank you.
It's, by the way, you can find us, Kevin7, Kevins, the number 7. Type it in your search engine of your favorite Audible app or YouTube, and you can find us if you like the show. You encourage people to go back and listen so that they can get caught up on what's going on in the markets, the economy, and with personal finances. Things change all the time. So, including tax laws, including people's personal financial situation, and therefore it's always good to go back and review maybe something that you heard live on the air. But yeah, feel free to call us, 281-558-5738. Also, we are here for the next 4 weeks at this time slot. And if you like the show, we encourage you to call and schedule an appointment with my assistant, Susan. Her number is pretty simple to remember, 877-KEVINS7. That's Kevins, the number 7. And we will see if we'll continue to do the show, but obviously we want to make it financially viable. And we encourage you, if you like what you hear, give us a call at 877-KEVINS7. See if we might be able to help you with your personal financial situation.
I got a question on tithing.
Tithing, yes.
That just came up.
Yeah, as tithing, as we're talking from a Christian perspective, tithing as people, I think people still go to church on Wednesday nights, right? You might be driving to church or maybe heading back from church on a Wednesday night. And one of the largest erroneous teachings that I've heard on the New Testament is the instruction to tithe. You will not find the instruction to tithe in any of the New Testament letters. Tithing's only mentioned once in the New Covenant letters, and that's in the book of Hebrews, and it's talking about Melchizedek gave 10%, or Abraham gave 10% to Melchizedek one time. So in any of the instructions in the letter. So here you have Paul, who wrote Galatians, Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians. Don't know who wrote Hebrews, but why is it that there is no instruction in these letters after Christ's resurrection? There's no letters that instruct people to tithe. Well, what does Paul say about that? Paul says in 2 Corinthians 9:7, each of you should give what you have decided to give in your heart, not reluctantly or under compulsion, for God loves a cheerful giver. Now, I can say this from personal experience. I was led through the trap of thinking that I had to give 10% of my income. I was taught this through church, and the instructions of people to tithe is in the Old Testament, written to Jews over 2,000 years ago. And obviously, Jesus talks about tithing, and he calls it a matter of the law. And actually, Christians, believers, are not under the law. So apart from the law, sin has no effect. So Christians live through the Spirit, and that's how Paul says, do not give, each of you should give what you've decided in your heart. So how could you decide it in your heart? Well, God gives you a new heart once you become a born-again believer. So there is no mention or instruction. There's no instruction in any of the New Testament letters to tithe. So the instruction of tithing is a wrong covenant for Christian believers. It's an Old Testament covenant. It's a wrong motivation, right? So, and I can say this from personal experience. I tithed, and I think it was essentially works-based, and Christianity is not a works-based religion because Jesus did it all on the cross, and so therefore he gives us a new heart. You become a believer, and that's how Paul says that you should give out of your heart. So that is how it should be done for a believer, and we hear this. I was baptized at a church here in Houston that I think I'll refrain from saying the name of it, but everybody would recognize the name of the church. And, there's still, nobody's perfect, right? Whenever they teach something, they're not infallible. And certainly we can say that with our radio show here on investments. We try to be as good as possible, right? But, everybody is fallible and can make errors. But this is one of the big ones that I've seen and with believers. And since this is a finance show, and I wanted to make sure it's clear that it's, and I had this one time, they read this verse right before the offering, and I think it's fine for churches to take an offering, but they shouldn't be saying tithes an offering. For a New Testament believer, it should be an offering, because tithing is an Old Testament covenant, and it says here, you don't get not talking about giving not reluctantly, as Paul says in 2 Corinthians 9, not reluctantly or under compulsion. And for me, when I was tithing back in the day, I heard this verse. Wait a minute. I think I'm doing this under compulsion because I'm giving the 10%. I'm thinking, well, I'm going to, God is going to be impressed with me. Nope. That's not the way that it should be done. You give out of your heart, not reluctantly or under compulsion, right? And I was doing it under compulsion. God loves a cheerful giver. So give cheerfully. And if you want to hear a little bit more detail on this, I encourage you to maybe look at YouTube, The Grace Message, andrewfarley.org. He's out of Las Colinas, Dallas. He started his church over in Lubbock, Texas. But very, very strong New Testament doctrine. And I've been very encouraged as a believer in Jesus in his message. And that's why what it should be when you go to church. It should be encouraging and uplifting. Used to, in the old days, they said, well, you should go to church so that you can learn more of the Word. Notice that's not what it says in the Bible. It says it's just man saying that. So really interesting that it didn't say that in the Bible. Pretty much it says, do not forsake the congregation of the brethren, and we are there to lift each other up in a church atmosphere. It's pretty interesting that it never read that. You never read that in the Bible. Go to church so you can know more of the word. So there you go. There you have it. It gives another reason why I believe the Bible is infallible, because it knew not to say that. God knew not to say that, because at some point it looks like every person on earth will have the information at their fingertips, right? So you can get this through fantastic preachers out there, and I recommend anybody take a look at andrewfarley.org. So that is my thoughts on tithing. Tithing, 10% mandate not to be observed by New Testament believers. If you disagree, or your pastor disagrees, have them call in any Wednesday, the next 3 Wednesdays after this Wednesday, to 281-558-5738. That's KSEV, right? 281-558-5738. So, how's that sound for you, Gary?
I'm trying to absorb it. That's why I wasn't speaking yet. It's still sponging it up right now as we speak.
Yeah, it's just a way that, Christianity, might be the only faith-based religion out there that is not works. It is all about what Jesus did. So it's and even us believers, we can get caught up into making. I think I'm going to impress God by giving 10%. No, but He does love a joyful giver, which is fantastic.
Online, it's live. You can get to kevin7.com. That's kevins7.com, or call 877-KEVINS7. We're going to take a break real quick. Try to get my mind back into the game.
Having a hard time knowing what kind of income you may expect in retirement? Kevin 7 is a financial planning firm. We take you.
Is Tennessee music still good to play, or what?
Confidence. A financial plan takes.
I'll try. Yeah, I'm trying to stay away, and I just wanted to see how you felt about it too. Okay.
And forecast that into the future. Call us at 877-KEVIN7. That's 877-538-4677. We can schedule an appointment for you via Zoom, phone, or even in person. Or visit us on our website at kevins7.com, KEVINS7.com.
Catch Chris X Radio weekdays at 4.
80s romance novel heartthrob Fabio broke his lifelong silence on politics to call Joe Biden the worst president in U.S. history. Fabio said Biden has no clue he ripped the economy, the border, and U.S. weakness. Finally, after comparing Sleepy Joe to Nero, he wrapped up by saying, "I can't believe it's not Bubba."
Chris X Radio, weekdays 4 till 6, right here on the Voice of Texas. Phone lines are open now. Call 281-558-5738. That's 281-558-KSEV.
And we are back. And a happy Veterans Day. Veterans Day is Saturday, and most institutions are observing it on Friday. So let's see, the banks are closed, stock market's closed. In honor of the veterans. And it's fantastic to celebrate the people like you, Gary, who have served the nation. Very proud of you. And here on KSEV, I know all of our listeners are very proud of our veterans. Interestingly enough, Gary, we didn't get one call saying that they disagreed with us on tithing. So we were talking in the first segment about tithing, and we said, if you disagree with us, feel free to call in, because we believe that a Christian believer, should not feel they're under the tithe mandate because Jesus says it's a matter of the law, tithing is, and believers are no longer under the law. So I guess everybody believes the way we think doctrinally now.
That's normal,
because
right?
we didn't we didn't get one call of anybody disagreeing with us that you should not tithe as a believer. You should just give out of your heart. Now that's faith. It takes faith for a preacher to say, yes, I'm just going to let my congregation not tithe, but give out of their heart. And that's really faith-based. Wow. So congrats to all of you preachers out there that are not stating that people should tithe as a New Testament believer.
You can call 877-KEVIN-7. That's the number to call. 877-KEVINS-7. Online at kevins7.com. Or you can call us here. I don't want to confuse you too much. What is our number? 281-558-KSEV or 5578, right?
You got it. Yeah.
Wow,
if you want to speak to us live, that's the number to call, the 281 number. And we can move back into what's going on in the markets. You have Disney released earnings, and they came out above earnings. I went to the University of Southern California Executive MBA program, Gary. That's where you work during the day, and you get to go to class all day Friday and all day Saturday. So it's a tough program. And then you meet with your study group on the weekend. So I did this about 15 years ago. The reason I bring that up is because it was in Los Angeles at the University of Southern California. And Iger, who is the CEO of Disney, came and spoke to the class. And you know what he said? He said to us, within 3 years, and this is back, around 2009, 2010, within 3 years, you will have all movie theaters in 3D. Nope,
Wrong.
Iger, you're wrong. Not very good judgment ability. Not very good judgment ability with regard to... He's pretty tone deaf with regard to the Screen Actors Guild. So the whole Screen Actors Guild's not very happy with him. And then you have a lot of traditional value Americans are not very pleased with his tone deafness and the direction of the company over the last 10, 12 years.
So what you're saying, a lot of people don't like him.
No.
Well,
That would,
that's
I mean,
okay. You like him,
that's pretty tough to make everybody on all ends of the spectrum not pleased with you.
Yeah, when it comes to money, it's personal.
Yeah, right. And you look at the stockholders, they're not got to be, and they're not pleased with that stock. And it was rumored for a while that Apple would buy Disney. Now, if he would have come and said, hey, we really like what 10, 15 years ago, if he would have said, hey, we like what Netflix is doing, we think that future is in streaming, I would say the guy is brilliant, right? It's just factually based. You look at the past performance, right, to kind of get a guide. You want somebody with good judgment ability running a company, and you want a good financial advisor that has good judgment ability. And you can ask a financial advisor to show you what they've done in the past performance-wise. And if they didn't buy anybody individually Disney stock over the last few years, then that was a good thing. So we'll see what happens in the future with Disney. That's just an interesting tidbit. They did beat earnings. Disney Plus, their streaming has gone up. Their subscribers for streaming has gone up. Man, I just, the reason I bring this up, probably worse than the worst thing that I don't like about Disney is what they did to Star Wars. Some of that stuff is just not good content. It's I guess George Lucas just caught lightning in a Bible. Or lightning in a bottle for those first 6 episodes that he did. Mm-hmm. And so, but we'll see what happens with Disney. But I'm not buying Disney stock anytime soon.
No, Eisner. A lot of people don't like Eisner, but Disney must like him in some respects because he's still making them some kind of money, right?
Well, their earnings are up. They had an interim CEO there at one point, and he was so bad they brought Iger back. And you can look at the history of the stock over the last year. It's just atrocious. So performance matters, and you got to have some foresight into what's going on. And I think Disney has missed it. They're tone deaf to what's going on around them. So
see what happens, huh?
We'll see what happens.
We talked earlier before the show started something about fee basis versus commission. You want to talk about it?
So a financial advisor, the two main ways that a financial advisor can pay for their expenses is either a fee-based or commission-based, all right? And there's disadvantages in the way that they are charged. So a fee-based, we can do fee-based, but they have a quarterly debit of your account no matter what. And you see a lot of these people, financial institutions say, as you make money, Mr. Client, Mrs. Client, as you make money, we will make money. If you make less money, we will make less money. Okay, so that's what a fee base, and that's true. That's the way it's. If somebody charges 1.5% or 2% per year, in some cases it could be 1%. They usually do it by volume. So if Elon Musk calls up and wants to open up an account, it's going to be less than somebody that has $100,000. So their fee would be less, right? Because it's volume in anything in business. And so, but here's the problem with the fee base, right? That's debited out of your account. Say if you have only 25% of your money in a fee-based account, if you have 25% of that money in cash, that account is still being charged based on your total amount. So say if you had 25% in cash, 50% in stocks, 25% in bonds, they're still charging that whole amount. They're not discounting for the cash that you have in your account, which is not a good thing. You shouldn't be charged on money management fees if it is sitting in cash. And that oftentimes is what happens under a fee-based account. Now, say if you have a brilliant financial advisor like somebody at Kevin 7 and they have you move out of stocks temporarily, we couldn't charge somebody to have their money sitting in cash. So that's why we usually do the more preferred way we work with clients is it's per transaction. So you might not hear from your financial advisor for 3 years. They're still going to debit that account on a quarterly basis, right? Now, they're mandated by the SEC to contact you or try to contact you at least once a year, right? So the other side of it is commission, where it's FINRA is the regulator, not the SEC to some degree, but FINRA for the most part. And FINRA, they regulate the commission side of it. So the way that I like to do it, particularly in the first year or two of onboarding a client, they open up a commission-based account, and that way that we're not automatically debiting their account on a quarterly basis. I explain to the client what it is, the benefit of what we're going into as far as investment choices, and that way, and then I'll also tell them the cost. So the client will see the benefit / cost at the time of the investment recommendation. And should they choose to move forward, the transaction charges happens at that time, rather than just automatically debiting the client's account once a quarter, right? So that's the advantage that I see in going with a commission basis, so that you know the benefit at the time you go into the investment choice, and then you know the cost, and you can make the appropriate decision at that time.
You know, it's nice to know what you're getting into when you're getting into it.
Yes. The standard of the industry, though, is, and we were learning this back in 97 when I originally went into the industry, there was a push amongst the big brokerage houses to move clients into fee-based accounts. That's really good from an executive standpoint that's sitting at the top of a big major brokerage firm. Because if the financial advisor leaves, they just give it to another financial advisor. The firm still makes that money on a quarterly basis. So that's when it's in a fee basis. Now, I'm not saying that I would never do fee basis, right? It's like anything else in life. It's a trade-off, and we can offer people in some instances it does make more sense to maybe potentially go into a fee basis. So, but the rule of thumb is that we mainly do commission basis. And it fits into the narrative of really staying close to the financial advisor, particularly if you're a new client with us. We speak at least on a quarterly basis within the first year. At the heart of everything that we do, it is financial planning, so that we're not investing just to be investing, but it's based on a certain outcome that we are looking to achieve. It's goals-based. If you choose a goal, and then, through the guidance of the financial plan and me, the financial advisor, and the experience and the judgment ability that I have a good, strong record for, I can give you the guidance that way. So, and by the way, you're not going to be handed off to another financial advisor at Kevin 7. You would be able to work directly with me. At other firms, they will, and particularly the bigger ones, they will hand you off to somebody else potentially, and that doesn't happen. With Kevin 7, that's Kevins, the number 7.com. Feel free also, if you want to, just let everybody know if you have a question, you don't want to call us on the air. Some people are private like that, and that's okay. You can email me. A personal email address is kevin@kevin7.com. Love to hear from you. Or if you think you have a question that would be advantageous for everybody to hear, feel free to again call us 281-558-5738, where we partner with Dave Ramsey, Ramsey Solutions. Dave was on KSEV 700 AM here a while back. And we are a big advocate of people doing the 7 baby steps. And whenever you do the 7 baby steps, usually after baby step number 4 or 5, that's when you've been putting 15% into your employer retirement plan, or if you're self-employed, your self-employed pension, a SEP account, or your private pension that we create for you. 15% is the recommendation that we in Ramsey baby step number 4. And number 5 is that you save for your kids' education. Number 6 is, you know what number 6 is? That is paying down your mortgage.
Oh.
People today have these golden handcuffs. These executives used to have the golden handcuffs. I'm sure we're speaking about Iger. I bet he has one heck of a... the Disney CEO has one heck of a golden handcuff clause. So, but now Americans have it at these lower interest rates that they're locked in. So you're locked in with your golden handcuff to the lower interest rate. So the new home builder market, those are some stocks that have done really well because people aren't selling their homes as much as they used to because they're attached with a golden handcuff. So that is, we told you, baby step number 4, 5, and 6. Yeah. Now, baby step number 3, there's 3 to 6 months worth of savings, right? So that's an emergency fund in case your air conditioning goes out or something happens that is an emergency fund. It's a bigger emergency fund. And well, obviously, we tell people, baby step, I'm working backwards here. So baby step number 2 is pay off all credit card debt. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I've noticed, I've done business in California and Texas. I think Texas has it figured out with regard to the credit card versus debit card situation. If you go to some places in Texas and you use a debit card instead of a credit card, you'll get a little bit of a discount with using your debit card. And the reason being is because a debit card has very little transaction costs in relation to a credit card. Credit card, like you set up Apple Pay on your phone, a vendor can, and they can just have a customer pay you as a vendor right over there, right over your phone. You don't need a Square. Used to you'd have to plug in a Square device into the end of your phone. Now you don't even have to do that. And so here's what happens. If you pay by credit card, or if a customer to a business pays by credit card, that business has to pay 3%.
Wow, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, over time. How many transactions? Like 33 transactions over time. It's going to totally wipe away the value of doing business because you're paying 3% every time. So a debit card with a transaction fee usually of less than 1%, they don't have a differentiation in the state of California for that. So it's more advantageous for credit card companies in California because they make more money there, right? Because they're getting that whole 3% transaction fee. Whereas in Texas, they'll give you check it out wherever you go. Whenever you're buying something, you might be able to save a little bit of money if wherever you're buying a product, if it takes a debit card instead of a credit card because of the cost being significantly less with a debit card. So there's a little bit of
I learned that info.
Maybe we can help some people get a little bit of a discount on whatever they're buying, right? So we talked about the Ramsey baby steps. We talked about tithing. The markets have been pretty strong here over the last 2 or 3 weeks. The economy is pretty strong, although unemployment has ticked up a little bit. So, not as many, more. I think there's more work. Obviously, there's more potential workers for employees out there. Now, this is counterintuitive. We support the American worker, but it's the way the Fed looks at it. And we always say here on Kevin's 7 radio show that you never fight the Fed. So you need to look at what the Fed is doing. The Fed has said that they are going to stay higher for longer. So that doesn't mean we're going to see an increase anytime soon in the Fed rate, right? So what drives this? What does the Fed look at? Well, they look at inflation. And if they see inflation being held at bay, then they're not going to raise interest rates. They see inflation coming down, then they will stay or they will reduce interest rates. A lot of people don't understand what causes inflation. The printing of money causes inflation, right? And the U.S. government spending money, that causes inflation.
Does inflation lead to recession in some cases?
Boy, that's a great question. That's what everybody who's an economist has been saying for the last year and a half. So this is the most anticipated recession of all time in the history of America. Wow. We've not gone into one yet. So inflation, typically you're going to have higher inflation whenever you have a higher workforce participation. And, the lower the unemployment rate is actually worse for big corporations, which causes higher costs, right, for the corporation. By far, the single largest cost for a corporation is labor. It's not cost of capital. So the Fed, they think that they can raise the rates and that will stop inflationary pressures. It appears that it has to some degree, but is when you have a very low unemployment rate, that means as a corporation, you're going to have to pay more for employees, right?
Yeah.
So that is the highest expense. And we hear a lot about, these big corporations like Apple or whatever, they're trying to get out of China, not a lot, but to some degree. And you hear this terminology called nearshoring or reshoring. So obviously Apple did that. They moved the bulk. And this is a Houston story. As we broadcast here on KSEV 700 AM, and it goes back to compact computers. They were the first ones to start offshoring to China. And China, Compaq was absorbed, but one of the key members, the logistics guy over at Compaq, his name was Tim Cook. And Tim Cook is now the CEO of this multi-trillion-dollar company that we know as Apple.
Oh, yeah.
So it has its roots here in Houston. And I thought, one of the reasons Dell was eating Compaq's lunch is because they were just doing the just-in-time inventory, meaning they were building the computers as quickly as possible. Meanwhile, Compaq was, trying to supply out of China. And it takes a while, back in those days, it's back in the 90s, to pull product from China. Now, it's developed into an art. The products aren't as big. These iPhones, tablets, we got the MacBook Pro here and the iPad here in front of me. So these are the products. They've been made in China, but they're talking about nearshoring. Now, what is nearshoring? That would mean putting it in Mexico for being built, right? And then you have all these chips, companies that are near reshoring, where that means they're putting those plants inside of the United States of America, which is, I think, a fantastic thing for American corporations to do, is onshore, reshore their manufacturing facilities here, because number one, it's great for national security, and number two, it's great for the American worker. And I think that as the American worker is stronger, so is the American security. So they go hand in hand, right? So that's a little background on what's going on with moving corporations. Cost of labor, cost of capital, not as much. It's higher than it used to be, but cost of labor, it's higher than it has been. So
online, it's kevin7.com, 877-KEVINS7. And we're going to be right back. Yeah, so don't go away.
there are 3 things you need to know when choosing a financial advisor. Number 1, experience. Number 2, credentials. And number 3, judgment ability. I have over 27 years experience in the industry. I am a Chartered Retirement Planning Counselor, CRPC, and an MBA. Although past performance doesn't guarantee future results, we can show you that we've delivered results that double the S&P 500. Don't hesitate. Call us at 877-KEVIN7 or visit us on our website, KEVINS, the number 7.com.
Hey, Sean Hannity here from my friends at Lone Star Transfer. If booking your timeshare was difficult in the past, you know it's recently been almost impossible. They have had the pleasure of helping thousands legally and permanently get out of their never-ending timeshare fees. Now, Lone Star Transfer guarantees the release of all liability to your timeshare in writing. Call my good friends for a free, no-obligation consultation. 833-594-0075. They're online at LoneStarTransfer.com.
Phone lines are open now. Call 281-558-5738. That's 281-558-KSEV.
Here back on KSEV 700 AM, Kevin's 7 is the name of the firm. And if you like the show, we'd love you to call us up, see if we might be able to help you at 877-KEVINS7. And we can chat. You do a Zoom call if you don't like traffic. That traffic's pretty bad out there. That's why we love Zoom. I like to meet people in person, too. So if it's a possibility, then we will meet you in person. But we can oftentimes meet people via Zoom. And if you don't know anything about Zoom, or if you feel nervous about that, don't be, because we can walk you through that. That's Susan answering that phone line, 877-KEVIN7, K-E-V-I-N-S, the number 7. And she can help get you up and running on Zoom or any other kind of video app that you have. So now with the latest updates, it looks like Apple had another update actually last night. And you can do video messages now with an iPhone. So technology keeps getting better and better, which is a good thing. Makes life a little bit easier. So let's talk about the consumers getting a break. Well, the consumers are getting a little bit of a break heading into Christmas season coming up here. The dollar is actually getting stronger. We talk about this every once in a while on the show, is how the dollar and oil have an inverse relationship. So as the dollar gets stronger, since oil is based in dollars, for Americans who are based in dollars, their oil becomes cheaper and gasoline prices are edging lower. 5 Treasury yields are going down from 5%. It hit the 10-year Treasury yield went up as high as 5% a week ago, and it's significantly off. So what does that mean? Well, holiday spending is projected to be at record levels during this Christmas season, reaching between $957 billion to $966 billion.
That's close to $1 trillion.
Yes, it is. This would represent a 3 to 4% increase over last year. So post-pandemic, the economy is doing well. But here again, you always got to be careful about what's going on with regard to the U.S. Treasury Department and the Fed. This afternoon, the U.S. Treasury did a 10-year auction, $40 billion that they have put into the Treasury auction. And they did it at this time. The 10-year Treasury is down. So, I don't like it when the government goes out and borrows money, because essentially it's just another way of them not having to raise taxes, right? So they can continue to borrow. That's one of their effective measures. The government can continue to borrow, and they can continue, the U.S. Federal Reserve can continue to print money, all of which adds to inflation. So inflation is going to be stickier if they continue to print the money. But overall, hey, look, the U.S. dollar is really strong. So people are buying the U.S. dollar, right? And so I guess this is pretty good timing for the U.S. Treasury, even though I don't like it. We shouldn't be spending money that we don't have. And, if you think about it, the U.S. government's, they're not like an individual person. I've oftentimes...
Yeah.
Bankrupt if I did that. Yeah, but you can't issue dollars like the U.S. government does. And your bank account is not backed by the strength of the U.S. military. So the most powerful entity, right, man-made entity is got to be, I like to say Marines or the whole U.S. military. Here coming up on Veterans Day, we love you, veterans, and you are the reason for the strength of the military, and you're the reason for the strength, quite frankly, of the American economy and the strength of the U.S. dollar. And nothing compares to this great country, the United States of America. That is why people are rushing to get into this country, because we are the best. Don't ever let we hear a lot of news throughout the day, but don't ever forget that we are still the best country on earth. There's nowhere I'd rather be than the United States of America. And God certainly has shed his grace on this country and our veterans. And so that's backed up. We would not have we do have a strong economy. And you might hear a lot of naysayers out there, but we really do still have a strong economy. A lot of people like to be negative about the future, but again, I'm very bullish on the market over a long period of time. You should have the conviction to stay in the U.S. stock market, minimum of 3 years, so you can withstand. Now, these economists and these market analysts, they have some really good models that are indicators of what's going to happen, but nobody can see into the future, right? So there's got to be some kind of a balance. You can't see from day to day what's going to happen in the markets, but over a long period of time, you're going to be better off in the S&P 500 if you have that as your only investment choice. As far as stocks go in your employer retirement plan, take a look at that. If you're younger and you've got 3-5 years plus away from retirement, right? That magic age being age 59 and a half, you can take a look at rolling your money into an IRA. You can look at, once it's in an IRA, converting that IRA into a Roth IRA. The heart of all this, again, is through a financial plan. We onboard people with a financial plan so that it updates your financial plan real time. Doesn't matter where your financial institution is. You can look at your financial plan in real time based on wherever your assets are held. And it will forecast into the future. Certain things I can say with 100% confidence. I can say the sun is going to rise tomorrow with 100% confidence. Other thing, is the stock market going to be up or down tomorrow? Nobody can. We were talking about the Bible earlier. James, if you ever hear somebody saying they can see in the future and you're a New Testament believer, look at what it says in James. And James talks about business. He goes, don't go here, don't go there. You say that you're going to make this profit or not, because nobody knows what the future will hold, because nobody can see into the future. It cracks me up when people who profess to be a Christian say they can see into the future, when James right there in the New Testament Bible says, no, can't do it. So, and that's true with regards to the markets. But there's certain things, that you are more confident that's going to happen tomorrow, right? Like the sun coming up. Like the stock market opening, up or down? Yeah, no, if it'll open up or down, be up, down, but over the longer you're in the market, the more whether it be 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, more confident I can tell you with a certain, in statistics they call this a confidence level, and this is all mapped out beautifully on a financial plan for somebody, where they can see with these certain confidence levels of the assumptions that we use in the financial plan based on what you're currently holding. Say if you've got 70% of your money in stocks and 30% of it in something that protects your money, whether it be an index annuity or a structured note. Notice I did not say bonds. Bond mutual funds went down the last couple of years. So, yes, if you hold a bond until its term individually, that's a good thing, and you know what you're going to get. Bond mutual fund, they fluctuate. Well, bond will fluctuate in market value on your statement on a daily basis. An index annuity will never fluctuate on your statement unless you withdraw money from it, because it does not go down. Structured note will fluctuate on your statement, by the way. Structured note, particularly after the first month, you might see the structured note go down. But the investment bank that creates the structured note to either protect your principal, you got the backing of the investment bank, whether it be Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, another, what they call, I guess, too big to fail bank. So those they will do. They are sold by a prospectus and a structured note, and they can protect your principal 100% guaranteed by the issuer or the investment bank, like a RBC, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs. They can protect it 100%. They can buffer the protection down to 20%. They can create a barrier, which means they protect it. It doesn't buffer out, but if it goes down below, say, a 30% barrier, then you would lose money anything below the 30% barrier. So those are structured notes, and they're a good mix in anybody's portfolio, I would think, to just take a look at it, right? We're just throwing some examples out there. If you want that specific investment advice, call up Susan on our 877-KEVINS-7 number. Talk to you all again soon.
Electric Avenue. Electric Avenue.
Thanks for listening to Your Finance with Kevin 7. If you have a question for Kevin during the week,
Yeah, good.
call him at 877-KEVINS-7. Or his website is KEVINS-7.com. And join us again next Wednesday at 6 p.m. for Your Finances with Kevin 7.
Kevin Kugley is a registered representative with securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor. Member FINRA SIPC. The opinions voiced in this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which strategies or investments may be suitable for you, consult the appropriate qualified professional prior to making a decision.
KSEV.